Let's be honest, if you're dying fast in gunfights, it's probably because you're approaching the fight incorrectly. The thing that should be blamed can't be your aim all the time, but your movement going into the fight. You watch tons of tutorials on how to win more gunfights or how to master movement, but when it's time to put those tips to use in your games, everything you've learned goes out the window due to how complicated Valorant seems. The one thing that these videos don't show you is how every fight you approach will be different, but there are a few things that you can do to not let the randomness affect you, so you may win more of these fights with dominant movement. In this video, I will be breaking down 4 clips with one single focus point, which is teaching you how to approach any fight in any scenario. We're going to first break down this clip from this match on Lotus where I was playing Raze. In this clip, we're going to see my team become hyper aggressive, taking space on both ends of the map, leaving our Omen alone to anchor on B with Killjoy's turn. While we're approaching these fights, we're going to make sure that we're limiting our exposure by sticking close to the walls. If you zoom in, you'll notice exactly how I'm moving. You will notice that I am closing space, staying behind cover, pressing W, and only peeking using my A or D key. I often see many of you peek with 2 keys at the same time, being W and A or W and D. You need to stop doing this because this makes you an easier target for the enemy to kill, and the harder of a target you are, the longer you can expect to stay alive, making it easier to secure your kills. A routine that you can use to improve this habit is going to custom games and practicing only moving forward when you are scaling behind cover, stopping, and then only peeking to your left or right with A or D. As my team is making contact with the enemy, you're going to see me swing out with my D key, staying tight to the wall just in case I have to bail out. Having crisp and tight movement will keep you alive. I'm going to make contact with the chamber and then stick to the right side of the wall to scale up to secure the last kill onto the Astra. As I'm scaling up, I want you to notice how I'm sticking to the right side of the wall while pressing W to scale, since this is my safest cover to use. Then when I swing the Astra, I'm only pressing A key to ensure that I am peaking at maximum speed. I'm a duelist, so I need to expect myself to take a lot of fights because that's my job. And when I take these fights, I need to have crisp movement so I can guarantee that I'm staying alive as I'm approaching these fights, because at any given moment, I may have to bail. Now, this second clip is from the same Lotus match, and sadly, my team dies off on me, putting me into a 1 versus 3. The first tip that I want to highlight is how I'm able to hold shift to prevent giving the enemies unnecessary information. While you're approaching any fight, you don't want the enemies to expect you, so holding shift is going to save you more often than not. Because the enemies had no idea where I was when I jiggled the Astra, I was able to bail from the fight, and since I was peeking tight to cover, only swinging with A and D, I was a tough target for the Astra to eliminate. I was able to get this information and then get out of that situation since it was not in my favor. Now, as my team all dies off, I have to make my way over to the stairs and then eventually to the B-bomb site. I want you to pay close attention to my pathing. You see, I'm using my environment to limit my exposure. I'm staying tight to the walls so that way if I'm peeking one angle, I'm not exposed to the other, or the enemy is going to have to swing deeper to see me. So whenever you're approaching any fight, just be sure to stick tight to your walls and corners so that way your exposure is under control and you're going to be dying a lot less. Just remember the good old saying, if you keep threats in front of you, you shouldn't die. Now, my movement when approaching the 2 first fights that I won was great, but if you notice, on the final fight onto the chamber, I moved forward without thinking about it. What I should have done was backed away and went back into cover to my left, but instead I pressed my W key approaching the chamber. Whenever you are moving forward when approaching a gunfight, you're incredibly easy to kill because you're not making the enemy work hard aim-wise to get the kill onto you. This next clip was an insane match where I was able to drop 35 kills. This was my most impressive clip yet since I was able to clutch this round, winning my team the game with only 15 health. My team is going to be taking a 3 versus 4 retake on the A-bomb site. Now, I started this clip by making a huge mistake, and that is not communicating to the Omen that I plan on satcheling out of heaven. Luckily, this worked for me, only because the Cypher whiffed his shots, but this is still a mistake and we want to point it out to avoid making this in the future. When approaching a fight with a teammate, you want to be on the same page to keep your movement in sync. So when you decide to peek, your teammate peeks along with you without stacking on top of each other. Now, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm doing while clearing showers in the left side of triple. I'm staying tight to the wall, so that way if I need to bail, I'm able to do so within a fraction of a second. And I want to do this because I'm only 15 health, meaning the enemies just have to land one bullet to kill me. If you're dying frequently whenever you peek or move into gunfights, you want to move to stay alive, not necessarily to just get a kill out of desperation. The kills will come to you, but as long as you're patient and playing with precision. Another tip that I want to highlight is being ready to stop on a dime whenever you're approaching a fight. You see, you're approaching a fight, so you need to be ready to take that fight as you're approaching it. Here, my teammate gave me a bad call stating that Brimstone was U-Haul, but he quickly said, "To your right," and I was able to stop on a dime because I was shift walking, trying not to give information as to my exact location to the Brimstone, which allowed me to react quicker than he was. With this next and final clip, I was playing ISO on Breeze with no shields, so I needed to be extra cautious here. I want you to first pay attention to how I'm silently walking up middle to support my teammates from the tunnel, but I'm staying close to the right wall. This is because an enemy can be tunnel or nest, and the sky was nest. So once I arrive at the box to my right, I want to be able to hide behind it, so I'm only exposed to the tunnel. This is my effort in this risky situation to put all of my threats directly in front of me. Getting to the box and staying close to the wall is a lot better and safer for me compared to just being out in the open. I'm staying tight to cover, using a W to scale up, and as I get closer to the box and as my crosshair shifts more left, I'm now using my D key to continue to move forward. Once I get the kill onto the sky, I want to reposition myself silently so Viper has no clue where I've repositioned, and I want to keep a crossfire with my team to make sure that if Viper crosses half wall, I'll be able to eliminate her. Because the threat is directly in front of me, I want to close the space using my D key and using my W key as little as possible. As we saw in clip number 2, if we get caught pushing with our W key into a fight, it's not going to go well. These are the fundamentals to mastering great movement when approaching a fight. If you start with a good approach, 9 times out of 10, your odds of winning that fight are going to be very high. So practice your approaches, and once you've done that, I want you to check out this video next.